Hello, everybody. Welcome to my presentation for Teachers as Changemakers, Assessment 2, Catering for Diversity. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Hanaa Abdalbari, and in this presentation, I will discuss the diversity of students in schools and how teachers can support and empower all students through implementing practices that are inclusive for everyone and cater to their personal and educational needs. I will begin through defining student diversity opinions, and then I will talk about how it can make students less interested in school. Additionally, I aim to address inclusive education and how teachers can lead change while linking it to my personal experience. Finally, I will talk about the importance of dialogue in teaching. Well, now you might be wondering, what is student diversity? Well, student diversity portrays the uniqueness each student invites to the classroom environment. This could either be their culture, language, socioeconomic background, abilities, and even their experiences. Ewing 2022. Moreover, learning preferences, personal experiences, and confidence are also diversity. However, they are challenging to spot and discover learning needs for. This reveals that different methods of learning are tailored for different requirements, depicting that what works for some students may not work for others. Churchill, ETAL, 2019. Diversity is quite important. Additionally, it is highlighted that teaching is a challenging and responsive career, which demands educators to adapt many unique techniques of approaching learning for students. This illustrates diversity shaping teaching in many different aspects in the classroom. Churchill, ETAL, 2019. Moreover, as much as diversity enhances learning environments and educates students, it may also trigger disengagement if not effectively supported. A study from Ewing ETAL 2020 proposed that students may lose interest when they perceive that their identities, cultural backgrounds, or experiences are neither recognized nor acknowledged in the classroom environment. Nonetheless, this creates disconnection to learning atmosphere created in the classroom. Another aspect that may lead to student loss of motivation is when the teaching strategies do not accommodate the learning requirements. For instance, if there's a lesson conducted utilizing one specific matter instead of various methods for minimum 1 week, this student is more likely to develop comprehension difficulty. And based on personal experience, this has a high risk of making students dislike participation, therefore leading them to dislike school. This demonstrates how teaching intensely impacts students' behavior, whether it's positive or negative. Furthermore, positive learning environments are often created through utilizing responsive and inclusive teaching strategies. Lavertiva, ETAL, 2019. What is inclusive education? Well, it's an approach that ensures that every student receives adequate learning in a supportive and meaningful environment filled with opportunities. Placing students in a same classroom without actively recognizing and eliminating barriers limits learners' education, contribution, and achievements. So it's not inclusion. This creates a heavy responsibility on teachers in the education system. Pantic and Floran, 2015. Now, it is important to identify diversity and recognize it as a respectable aspect in the classroom. As an educator, this may be accomplished through including it in teaching practices, creating protected learning environments for students, especially introverted learners that tend to be less expressive in the classroom. Based on personal experience, sharing information about my culture in the class truly influenced me to contribute with other students and engage. Additionally, this technique is usually employed by educators in the classroom to assist in building relationships in the classroom. Therefore, this describes how teachers play a critical role as agents of conclusion and social justice. Van de Hergen, ETAL, 2015. Dialogic approach of teaching is a fundamental strategy that enables empowerment for students and promotes inclusion. Simudid 2014 reveals that students learn best when they are actively involved in the process rather than receiving information. Therefore, this shifts the focus from creating a teacher-led learning to a student-centered learning. Dialogue is significant for learners as it allows students to contribute in the classroom, revealing the importance of a student's voice, thus generating and comforting the expressive environment. Segal, ETAL, 2017. Teaching dialogue includes creating discussion opportunities, encouraging contribution of different perspectives, and collaboratively constructing knowledge. Additionally, allowing students to connect their learning process to the personal experience increases engagement and creates meaningful and memorable class for students. Mamu, 2019. Diverse classrooms ensure that different perspectives and voices are included and recognized in the learning process. This prepares learners for their future, since communication and respect will impact the quality of their reality, which is why dialogue is empowering. Skidmore, ETAL, 2016. As a future educator, I intend to ensure that every student in my class feels supported, valued, and included. This is extremely important for me personally due to my personal experiences being an EALD student. Dialogue and belonging are incredibly important, especially for children, since it impacts well-being and mental health. Skidmore, ETAL, 2016. As someone who comes from a rich cultural background, I understand the importance of identity to be included and reflected on your learning. It can either make you feel connected or overlooked. This is why I aim to include diversity to overcome stereotypes that may be missed points for a few teachers. Braluskas, 2023. Moreover, I believe that diversity should be perceived as a strength that facilitates and enhances learning while educating others instead of a challenge. This means adapting inclusive teaching strategies to meet the needs of every student, ensuring that I provide an opportunity for every learner to succeed while utilizing their passions. This allows me to fulfill Standard 1.5 in the AITSL and creating an equal and fair school experience, Brody and Davery, 2024. Ultimately, I view my role as an educator deeply greater than individuals may perceive it. One bad experience can change a whole student's perception of school and learning. Here are my references. Thank you for listening.